Hello, everybody.
Hello.
If you could please keep your microphones shut for the duration of the show, and it will be easier for technical reasons. So, welcome to this webinar about firefighting and rescue operations with Dynaset. My name is Nicolas Denoncin. I am Area Sales Manager here at Dynaset. And we will be discovering together several of the Dynaset products that can be of great help for firefighting and rescue operations. About this webinar, as you could guess, it will be held in English, and it also will be available as a recording at a later date, probably on our YouTube channel, and the idea is also to put up some different languages as subtitles at the bottom, so that it can be followed later on in other languages. I'm sorry I'm not directly in front of the audience, which is always so much nicer. So I'll have to speak to this spying camera looking at me straight in the eye, and cannot have a direct interaction with you guys. But there will be Q&A, questions and answers at the end of the webinar. So bear with me on this. If you have some questions and technical questions, you should be able to present them at the end of the webinar. I have to remind everybody that this is not actually a technical training on a product. It's more of a description of the product offering for this line of work. So we will not be going in depth in technical descriptions of the products. We'll not be doing some engineering views of it, only some light technical presentation. We'll keep it rather simple. The idea is for you guys to understand the offerings and what the Dynaset products can bring about to this line of work. Also, I am not, most definitely not, I am not a firefighting and rescue specialist myself. So although I understand something about the works, please don't expect me to be able to give you all the answers in that sense, because you might be a bit disappointed. Sorry. And understandably, also, please bear in mind that this has to be understandable by most. Some people have a very in-depth, some people among you have a very in-depth understanding of hydraulics, and some others don't. So I need to make this understood by others and by the most part of the audience. So we'll do this with rather simple descriptions in order for everybody to understand the concepts. All right, let's start then. So it's called Firefighting and Rescue with Dynaset. And yeah, Dynaset, but who is Dynaset? That's a great question. Who is Dynaset? Some of you don't even know about Dynaset, actually. Dynaset is actually a family-owned factory in Finland. Being a factory, this means that we make the conception, the R&D, and the production of the products that we propose. It's all made in Finland here at the factory. This factory is now 35 years old. It was all started by our big boss, Reijo, in 1986. And it's based upon hydraulic know-how. Everything we do here has something to do with hydraulic know-how. On that know-how, we have built a whole line of products which are designed to be as compact as it gets in order to be easy to install on mobile machinery in many different industries. Also, of course, in the field of firefighting and rescue. So to summarize it, we will use hydraulic know-how, hydraulic power actually, and transform it into other forms of energy. These other forms of energy then giving possibilities to work with. For that, on a mobile machinery, we will need to have the availability of hydraulic power. Hydraulic power is needed. We need a mobile power source. So how will it be done? Very simply, generally speaking, excuse me. There. On most of the trucks and fire trucks, if we are speaking about fire trucks, but trucks, generally speaking, you can see here a representation of the engine, and here a representation of the transmission box. And on most of the bigger trucks, you will have the availability of power take off places on the gearbox, which will give movement, which will be a good place to install a hydraulic pump, for example. And if this is not even available on the vehicle, we are speaking about the actual possibility of power takeoff is still existing thanks to the Dynaset HPTO. The Dynaset HPTO will be not taking its power from the transmission side of the truck, but more from the engine side of the truck, directly on the crankshaft pulley at the front. But all right, we need a power takeoff, we need a hydraulic pump, and we have a power source available on board. This power source is not going to be enough to extinguish fires. That's for sure. We need a few things. We need a hydraulic pump, yes, check, but we also need a hydraulic oil tank, an oil cooler, a regulating and distribution valve block in order to be able to tame and direct this hydraulic power wherever we need it. And we are up and running. We have a system which is able to deliver hydraulic power where we need it. That's that much about the hydraulic power needed, and let's see now what we're going to do with it. Let's start first with the firefighting operations, and we will be speaking later on more about general rescue operations. But for the moment, let's just stick to firefighting and fire extinguishing. We will be seeing what we can do with HPW water pumps, specific HPW fire tools, the FP penetrator extinguisher, the HPP fire pumps, the HCF high flow air blowers, the HSP high flow water transfer pumps, HKR air compressors, HPU hydraulic power units. That's a lot of different products. And that's pretty much a lot of applications as well. So bear with me, you don't need to remember all of the product names right away, and you will discover them one by one in the following slides. Generally speaking about firefighting, I know, even though I'm not a fireman, I know that there are two courses of understanding about the best way to extinguish a fire. There is the traditional way with loads of water, bigger flow, bigger volumes of water spread upon the fire in order to extinguish it and flood it. And there is another concept which is more about higher pressure and lower flow of water. The idea with the higher pressure and lower flow of water is what is of interest to us, and you will understand later thanks to the products that we are specialized in. But a higher pumping pressure means a finer spray pattern, not big buckets of water, but smaller drops of water. This finer spray pattern will efficiently cool down the premises and cool down the fire as well before you can finally smother it. The finer spray pattern allows also for lower water flow. Higher pressure allows you to use less water. Lower water flow, less water saves water, of course, which means a longer firefighting autonomy with the same water tank size. It means less water damage to property. It means probably a lot more advantages that the professionals that you are, that some of you are, already know how to define. So about this high pressure, lower flow, it's of interest to us in Dynaset because of this. This is a hydraulically driven water pump, more precisely high pressure water pump. This is our own design from A to Z. It's been designed by Reio right at the beginning of the history of this house. And the principle is very, very simple, yet very clever, and it makes it very interesting as a product. Let's see why. As you can see in green here, you can see the body of the pump. In the middle, you have an orange area. This orange area will be a mobile group going back and forth. It's constituted of three elements: one central hydraulic piston, and at both ends of the hydraulic piston, you have a water piston and another water piston. This whole thing is screwed together. Inside the hydraulic piston, you have a shuttle valve going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth as soon as you feed hydraulics to the pump. You feed hydraulics to the pump, this goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, automatically. How it does it? Well, it will alternatively draw the oil flow on this side, then on the other side of the piston, then on this side and on the other side. It's as simple as that. And of course, if it goes back and forth, when this piston is pumping water out, the other piston is pumping water in, and vice versa. When the whole block is going to this direction, this piston will be pumping water out, and this piston will be sucking water in. This concept allows for this pump to be extremely compact. It's actually so compact that we know it's the best power to size ratio in the world. But it also presents a lot of other advantages. It is virtually maintenance free. These pumps don't need to be regularly maintained. You don't need to change lubrication oils or things like that to the pumps. You just use them, and when needed, you can replace seals and check valves, water valves, things like this. It is, however, completely field serviceable with standard tools. You don't need special tools, you don't need special organizations in order to service the pump. Once you have the proper documentation, you see it's a very simple unit. It's self-priming, it can run dry. Yes, it can run dry. It can run without water. And nonetheless, it is a piston pump, but it still can run dry. Amazing? Yeah, I know. You can thank Reio for that. On this product group, we have a very, very wide range of models. From a small, the baby of the bunch, 18 liters a minute, that's 160 bar, up to a big mama that delivers 300 liters a minute to 300 bar. And in the middle, we have smaller output flows but much higher pressure levels, up to 1,200 bar. Well, the whole power product range is a gem. It's a great product, and it's difficult not to like it, I have to say. It's not because I'm selling it. I just love it. Now, what shall we do with these pumps? High pressure, lower flow to extinguish fire. Now that we have this high pressure pumping heart in place, up and running on your mobile vehicle, hydraulically driven, and so on, it will provide pumping function for the following products: HPW Fire. HPW Fire using water. It's actually a tool set. HPW Fire sets. We'll see soon what it consists of, but it's actually meant to be used with different pumps. 300 liters a minute at 200 bar, or 50 liters a minute at 220 bar, or for the big needs, 90 liters a minute at 80 bars. As you can see, even the biggest and the most powerful of these still uses only 90 liters a minute. You know what the standard traditional pump, fire pump uses, so I'll let you do the math. With the same amount of water, you can last much longer. The interest of this tool set is that it's very agile in confined spaces. Sorry. Very agile. Why? Because actually the fireman will be pulling behind him the pressure line, the water pressure line plugged in here to the gun. The water pressure line, being a high pressure line, doesn't need to be very thick, doesn't need to be very heavy. It's much easier to pull behind and go up the stairs much faster. This same gun will be used to operate 4 different functions of this set. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's discover these functions now, if you will. Direct jet function. Very simple. Doesn't need much explanation. You have one water spray coming from the gun at high pressure, and it's pretty efficient nonetheless, with a strong impact on the so as you could see, there's quite a serious amount of power nonetheless, even though it's a smaller amount of water and high pressure. And you do not want to stand in front of it anyway. And there is still a strong impact into the flames, into the water, the fire, how do you call it? The heart of the fire. Wall piercing function. Wall piercing function, it's actually pretty much self-explanatory. When you look at the picture at the bottom of the slide, and the tool that is used, which is you have 2 units of it just on top of the picture. These 2 are spikes. Spikes with a very pointy and very hard nozzle, this part here. And this nozzle is as hard as it gets here, hardened steel, but you have water spraying jets in the nozzle. This is left straight so that you can hack the spike through a wall or a door frame, through anything you can make it go through, actually. Then still staying outside of the room with the fire inside. Plug the gun in there, let the water go, and you will have what follows. Right, so as you could see, there's a possibility to run the spray around by turning the gun, making sure that the sprays go in all directions. So very, very interesting. Why? Very interesting for the simple reason that you will start extinguishing the fire before you enter the room, lowering the room temperature, already extinguishing flames as well, and fighting the risk of backdraft, and which is all the more secure for the man in point breaching the door after a while. So this is quite an interesting tool that keeps the protection of the fireman in mind. Next we have the misting or the fogging function there. It's still a high pressure flow, and with a series of smaller nozzles here. Now we don't have straight jets like we had earlier, but we have a mist. We have a big amount of fog coming out of the lamps. A good video will let you understand a bit more about what it looks like. As you could see, it's a fog, a very, very thick fog, dampening all the surfaces, but not flooding the surfaces. Very interesting as far as I understand anything about firefighting. Very interesting to cool down a corridor or a room while advancing towards the fire. Not the same thing as a direct jet, but covering a wider area. The principle of this is more like a sprinkler system with fine fog coming out of it. So I truly believe that firemen like these functions. And then the last function of this tool set, the foam gun. The foam gun function will be consisting of 3 components per se, but 2 of these components will be on the truck, and the third one will be a nozzle that the fireman carries with him. The foam is the conjunction of high pressure water and an additive, some kind of a soap, so to speak, that will create a thick foam well when they mix up in this area of the nozzle. This nozzle has also a setting handle here. The more you pull it at the back, the more air you include into the mixture. And if you pull this handle towards the front, you will have less air, obviously, and probably just very, very little foam as well. Now, this will be on the truck side. More precisely, this injector will be installed on the suction side of the pump. The interesting thing here is that you can make foam without a different foam line or air line. All goes through the water high pressure hose that is attached to the gun, and the only hose that the fireman pulls behind it, because the additive will go directly into the pump. It will be pumped directly to the gun. So this is an injector. Basically, it will be sucking the additive from a tank into the pump. And this here is a system which is meant at dosing how much the pump is able to suck from the tank. This has been added because, of course, depending on the additives that you will be using and the kind of foam that you want to obtain, it's up to you to set it the way you want, you, the fireman, the way you want in order to obtain the result that you want. And once you have obtained the proper result, you can take off the handle and let it set like this. So what happens? The fireman is in a confined space at the other end of the hose. He can call by radio his colleague on the truck and tell him to open the suction line. Let's see what it does. This is not CAF. This is not compressed air foam production. This is something completely different. It's simple foam, and nonetheless, I think we think that it can be of certain interest. There, but you have to try it. You will see. So I think the professionals here can judge of the effectiveness of this kind of production, of foam production, especially in confined spaces. We believe that it brings some edge to the firefighting techniques. That's it about the HPW fire set of tools for firemen and women. Now, oh, I clicked twice. Next product in line. It's a product which is using the same properties as the wall piercing tool of the HPW water fire set, HDFP, the fire perforator. This thing, it's well, it's a tool. It's an attachment that you can add on a robotic arm of some sorts. We can see later on what kind of arm. And you also have here the same principle, that is a dart shooting through a window, shooting through a roof or a softer surface. I don't think it would go through concrete per se, but it's pretty powerful. The interest of this, as for the wall piercing tool that we saw earlier, is that by doing so, you will not allow for loads of oxygens to enter the room or the space that you are fighting fire in. You will not allow the entrance of oxygen while you are extinguishing, which is pretty interesting as well. Will not feed the fire, will not try to extinguish it. We have 4 models. Actually, it will be the same body, and we will be working for the different pressure and flow levels. We will be working with different nozzles here. 250 bar 30 liters, 220 bar 50 liters, 180 90 liters, 130 bar 180 liters for the big mama. This all depends on what HPW pump you will be using. You can see more in detail the spearhead of the spike. You have 3 nozzles spraying straight forwards, 3 nozzles spraying at an angle of 15 degrees, and then you have 6 nozzles around here spraying at 40 degrees. You will see the spray pattern that it gives later on. We can replace these small nozzles in order to obtain the proper pressure level at the proper flow. The whole length of this at ease, let's say in non-working position, in 920 millimeters, and the stroke is 550 millimeters more once it comes out. There are 2 little cylinders allowing for the operator to direct precisely X and Y, like where he wants the dart to go. And then the water pressure will do the rest. As I said, it can be installed on lifting platforms, robotic arms, you name it. And I even believe that it could be possible to put something, some extra installation on fireman big ladder, for example. But I'm not a specialist, but what the hell, it should be possible.
Satacağım, şey alacağım. Değişik bir araba koltuğu gördüm.
Can you please shut your microphone, please? So the interest of this product is the remote and automated extinguishing and cooling operations with no additional oxygen input. The fact that it's remote also adds to the more secure way of working. You don't need to have a man hanging outside of the window of a 5-story building. It can be done from the ground with a camera. See the pattern. There, you could see the spray pattern, and keep in mind, please, that the spray patterns can be a little bit different depending on the water flow and the pressure level that we are using. So depending on the pump. No. In addition to these tools that I've just presented you, there is also a very interesting function that can be added to any forest fire fighting truck, such as the one that you can see on the right side of the slide. This is just an example. Since you will have an HPW high pressure water pump on board the truck, It is then possible for you also to install a self-protection device on the truck, meaning that you will install a high pressure water misting nozzle series all around the truck, meaning all around the truck, protecting the underbody, protecting the wheels, protecting the upper body, the windshield, and everything. This is interesting to protect the whole truck from heat. As the professionals among you know, the idea of being surrounded by flames because the fire has been so fast that it surprised the fireman. It makes this installation, this equipment makes the truck, the fire truck, a safe haven for the fireman. And remember, once you already have the high pressure water pump installed, this is only a matter of installing the proper nozzles all around the truck. This, of course, is destined to all the OEM manufacturers that possibly are listening to this, as much as for the tools that I presented before, like the penetrator, perforator. All these things, they are meant for people who are actually building trucks. But I think that firemen also can demand this kind of equipment. To the hierarchy. There you have it about this concept. So we've been speaking pretty much about high pressure water pumping for fire suppression and fire extinguishing, but we can also propose to you more traditional products. This is the traditional centrifugal fire pump for fire engines, hydraulically driven. It's not a piston pump. It's a centrifugal pump running fast and sucking water and pushing it back through bigger hoses. This is the traditional one with high flows of water, high amounts of water. These are not the biggest pumps that are existing in the world of fire fighting, but they are still interesting, I believe, ranging from 1,500 liters a minute to 600 liters a minute, smaller, for the smaller one. And the pressure level, like, as you can see, is there. So these two are available from us. Now about extinguishing, let's move on to the next product concept. It's not so much about stopping the fire itself, but more about smoke extraction. Smoke extraction is central in fighting fire in buildings because of visibility and also because of the heat that smoke keeps within itself. This is a representation of an HCF centrifugal air blower developed by Dynaset. It's hydraulically driven, no surprise there. And it's an air blower, which is originally destined to, for us, it was originally destined to create a void, suction. But being a fan, it also creates a high airflow. And this high airflow can be pretty interesting for people who want to develop mobile smoke extraction capabilities. Using this will be like any snail-shaped blower. It will suck from the middle, under, and blow out there, simply with a pressure line and a return line on the hydraulic motor. We have a product range a very nice product range that my colleagues from the R&D have developed, so that OEM developers themselves can base their work upon this. We have a smaller one, 800 liters a second, up to a bigger one with a 3.4 cubic meters of air per second. And nonetheless, if you want to work with the depression side of the fan, here it is expressed in kilopascal negatives. There you have it. I can imagine a truck, a smaller truck with a nice hydraulic pump coming up to a building fire and pulling out a hose at the entrance of the stairs and blowing all the air that the smoke extractor can push into the building so that the smoke can get out of it, making the rest of the operations a little bit easier. There we go about the HCF and smoke extraction. Next, for firefighting, as we speak, we have been speaking since the beginning, we use quite a lot of water. And right, you can get, normally when you are in the city, you can get water from the fire hydrant posts and can get your tank, the truck tank filled up through different ways. But a good thing is to be able to go and fetch the water where it is. Let's say a nearby lake, a river, a swimming pool, depending on the operation situation. And for this, you will need a pump which is sturdy, easy to operate, very efficient, and will not be afraid of pumping a few stones with it if it so happens. These are the HSP transfer pumps. These are heavy-duty centrifugal transfer pumps. The turbine itself is made of hard oak steel. So originally, these are meant to pump mud. So they will pump clear water without any problem. And it's very adequate to refill a big water tank on a truck from anywhere you can find water. The concept is simple. Hydraulics in, hydraulics out. You have two hoses coming in, and then you have the discharge hose bringing the water that this pump will throw in, or actually throw out, and bringing it to the truck. You only need to run with the pump, drop it into the water source, and set the hydraulics in motion. And this will send water into the truck. These are extremely durable, as I said earlier, and they can run dry with no consequence. If you are emptying a swimming pool and there's no water, it will not destroy the pump itself. Once the water is once there is no water left. And it's also interesting to see that this whole pump range, product range, is light and compact. For most of the product, it can be a one-man operation. One-man operation because, as you can see on this very wide range, these two bigger ones, this one delivering 16 cubic meters a minute, and this one 10 cubic meters a minute at a height of 5 meters. These two are respectively 85 kilos and 70 kilos. It's much more comfortable for two guys, two firemen, even though they are generally very strong. Strong people, it will be more comfortable to make it a two-man operation to move the pump around. But for the rest of them, one man can do the job. Running to the river, drop the pump, etc., etc., etc. Let's see a little demo of this. So, as you could see, this was pumping mud, very, very muddy water. I didn't have a video clip with clear water there, but it can do the job, of course, obviously, with clear water as well. So that's the interesting thing, because these pumps don't take a lot of weight or a lot of space in a truck, and it can provide a fire truck with a certain autonomy into refilling its water tank. And we think that it's a pretty interesting feature to have around. Next, we've been speaking about non-CAF foam production, simple foam production with a simple additive into the water. But we now speak about CAF systems. The compressed air foam production needs several things to happen: high pressure water, compressed air, and a foaming agent, all mixed together in a certain way in actually the CAF unit, in order to produce the desired sticky and very thick firefighting foam that will get stuck onto a wall and on any kind of vertical surface as well, and stay there, not drip down. So we are not proposing a CAFS solution. We do not propose CAF systems. But now that you know about the HPW, that you have an HPW on your truck, you will need only an air compressor to produce the desired foaming conditions for the CAF foam generation. The unit that you can see here is an HKR air compressor, which has a hydraulic drive. This is actually a screw compressor. Two screws running one against the other will allow for air to be compressed in a continuous way. This can work for several hours. If the installation is properly made on the truck, this can run and run and run and run and produce compressed air for a very long time. You have high pressure water from your HPW, you have compressed air from your HKR, and you can produce your CAF. We are facilitating the installation of the CAF product itself, CAF facility on the truck, by providing high pressure water and compressed air. So HKR is one more product. And then in the firefighting, last solution that we propose for the firefighting activities, we've seen about the HSP water pumps, how to use them in order to refill a water tank on a fire truck. But we can also propose something that that would avoid to leave a truck near a watering site. This is an HPUD. This is a hydraulic power unit. This HPUD is an interesting unit that runs on a diesel engine. It's completely standalone and will provide hydraulic power for any operation that you want. In the field of firefighting, the interesting thing is to set up on the side of a lake, for example, a pumping station. And this will be the power unit, the only power unit that you need. This with an HSP pump of your choice, and the pumping station is ready to go. As you can see, you have a nice diesel engine there running a hydraulic pump somewhere at the bottom there. This is the fuel tank, and here you have the hydraulic system with the hydraulic tank, return filter, etc., etc., etc. And this is the cooling facility of the engine itself. There are two models. The one with the biggest output would be 210 liters a minute at 350 bar. This thing is fully standalone. It's actually air transportable. It weighs a few hundred kilos, of course, so two men cannot just move it around, but it's air transportable. It's a very quick setup. Once you have set it on the floor, there's an electric start. It's a one-man operation, actually. You can have a one-man operation pumping station ready for the trucks to come and refill the tank in case of a remote forest fire operation, for example. It's a perfect hydraulic power source. There you have it about firefighting possibilities with the Dynaset products. Now we will be shifting to more rescue operations. Not firefighting per se, but general rescue operations, which is also the lot of the firemen. We will be speaking again about the HSP high flow water transfer pumps that you already know, and also what we can do with the HPW and the HPW based KPL washing applications, rescue power source units, electric generator, HK and HKR air compressors again. Let's go. So you know about this pump. It's the third time that we speak about it. Water transfer with HSP. This is, as I said earlier, a submersible centrifugal heavy-duty transfer pump. Extremely durable, that can run dry with no consequence to the pump, and it's made to pump even mud. Actually, if you look at this grid here, it's quite a big grid. If anything goes through this grid, it means that it can go through the pump. So a few stones here and there will not do anything to the pump. It just will go through. And where do you need this for rescue activities? Well, it's pretty adequate to empty flooding areas, flooded basements, also to evacuate some unwanted chemicals, you name it. And I think the professionals of rescue operations can see by themselves what advantages this pump can provide. The interest of this pump is also that, as for all of the products that we have seen, except for the hydraulic power unit, this doesn't need an extra gasoline engine to run. It will be run by the truck itself. And there will be no electric cable either running through the waters in very hazardous areas, cable that becomes invisible under the water, under the muddy water, etc., etc., etc. The fireman can drop the pump where he needs the pump to be dropped, send in the hydraulics, and the pump will be emptying the area that needs to be helped. When you think about the biggest of these pumps delivering 16 cubic meters a minute, if you have a couple of trucks powering a couple of these pumps, do the math. That's 13 cubic meters a minute of water, which is evacuated to another area. the emptying of flooded basements can happen much faster than people would think, and thus perhaps also helping saving lives. Now back to high pressure water. This is an old friend of yours, the HPW. And based upon this technology, we have, for years and years as well, developed several applications for the washing operations. Very simple. If you already have an HPW on the fire truck, well, it's very easy to use it to wash something. But you have a few other options. HPW mobile, as you wish, depending on the language that you will be using. It's the same thing. It's this pump. This one is an newer model. This one is the older icon. But the principle is the same. You have a pump on the little chariot there, on the little trolley. You have hydraulic push-pull for quick connection on the hydraulic side. You have a suction filter here at the end of this blue suction hose. And once you feed it with hydraulics, it will pump. Remember, the HPW is self-priming. It doesn't matter that this hose is empty at the beginning of operations. And on this, you have a 10-meter long high pressure water hose and a washing gun. That's a mobile high pressure washer running hydraulically that you can more or less put anywhere you want, depending on what kind of solution you prefer. We also provide, of course, all kind of high pressure washing accessories of all kinds, special nozzles, suction filters, hose reels, etc., etc., etc. Now, based on this concept, still the same pump range, we also have developed a range of street washing products, equipments. The KPL. The KPL is what you see on the right side. You have a couple of pictures of two final products. One with inbuilt water tank, one without the water tank. And on both, you can see that you have the high pressure water, HPW, high pressure water pump here and there, different models of them. You have a washing ramp with a series of high pressure nozzles meant at digging in the dirt of the road that you are cleaning. This is originally developed to be working on roads, of course, but for rescue operations, it can be used for other purposes as well, not only roads, but bigger areas. And it's also ideal for spreading chemicals that would be needed to fight other spilled chemicals, for example, or disinfectant products if you do not wish to use only water. As you can see with the KPL, it's meant to be used under a very wide array of different configurations. You can either have everything at the front of the vehicle. Here it's a tractor, but of course it can be anything you want. You can have everything but the washing ramp at the front and the rest at the rear. You can have only a pump and a reel and a washing ramp at the front, and the tank can be yours, etc., etc., etc. The configurations are very numerous and very interesting. And I think if we are speaking about a fire truck, the most logical thing to do would be to use a simpler apparatus here that you can hook on the demand at the front of the truck. It will not be as wide as this one, as this simple one. There will be only a center pillar with a telescopic up and down possibility of setting, and the washing ramp, which is here. Yeah, and of course the washing ramps come in different length, allowing you to work with different widths of the area that you want to wash at the same time. So I do not wish to get into the details of what needs to be washed away after an accident, for example. But well, use your imagination, and washing capacity is of great help for rescue operations. Next, let's speak about what Dynaset can do for the jaws of life. Jaws of life, these rescue cutters, spreaders, and so on. They will need, as we all know, they will need a very high pressure level, hydraulic pressure level in order to function properly. The thing is here is that on the truck, you probably will not have the desired pressure level coming directly from the hydraulic pump installed on the truck. You will need a secondary unit here that will use the hydraulic power from the main pump and transform it into a higher pressure, lower flow hydraulic line, power line. This one here, this unit here, is as compact as we could make it in order for it to be easy to be installed on a fire truck. As we know, with all the machinery and everything, the space, the free space is a bit scarce. But this unit here has its own hydraulic tank here with a level glass and temperature glass, giving information on the amount of oil that you have. This is a filling cork and a breather, and then you have the return line. So once you feed hydraulics to this interface, actually inside of the HRU, you will find a power booster, which is configured pretty much the same way as an HPW pump works, only that this will use hydraulics not to pump water. This will use hydraulics to pump oil. It will pump less oil, but it will give much higher pressure. As you can see, you can have two kinds of outlets, either twice 5 liters a minute or 1 10 liters a minute, depending on the equipment that you want to feed. And the max pressure level is 800 bar. So you have your own dedicated secondary hydraulic circuit with its own dedicated pressure level. We have developed this especially for these products. Now, after the HRU, let's go on with the electricity production. HG, one of the biggest product groups here at Dynaset. We have a very, very, very wide range of electric power generator, which are hydraulically driven. AP23 or IP54, as you wish, depending on the application that you want to do. This is the insulation class. And with a range going from 3.5 and actually smaller than 3.5. It's also 1 kVA, that's a DC. Up to 80 kVA, 50, 60 hertz, as you wish. What can I say? Make your pick. Make your pick. It would be a very surprising thing for you not to find an HG model which would not respond to your need. It would be a very big surprise. There you have the functioning principle. This is actually an alternator. The same thing as what you have on your car, truck, or whatever, making the electricity for the electric system inside of your car, except that this will make more. It will make alternative current on these versions and much higher power ratings. So you have a rotor here running inside a stator. When it runs inside the stator, it creates electricity. This electricity is distributed through an electric interface. And how do we run this rotor? We run it with a hydraulic motor. And this hydraulic motor will be very sharply regulated and reactively regulated in order for the rotor to always run at a steady pace. Running that way at a very steady pace, it will guarantee that you have excellent quality in the produced electricity, the produced current that you want to use for your appliances. What for? Well, power tools, floodlighting, emergency power supply. This is something that comes about pretty often. Generally speaking, well, you need electric power, you have it. Give us a call. Let's go on about the use of compressors for rescue operations. Now, we have, generally speaking, two kinds of air compressors that I like to propose for these operations. Piston compressor, very simple. Everybody knows about this. Very simple, very easy to maintain, very easy to upkeep. The thing is that with a piston compressor, it will be more for intermittent use, not for too many hours on the road, because, well, it's not designed for this. Or then you will need to have a bigger air tank somewhere so that it allows to stop every once in a while. But then you have also the HKR that you already know, screw compressors. The interesting thing is that depending, of course, if you need to have big amounts of compressed air for the application that you have in mind, the interesting thing is that an air compressor like this one will deliver, when properly sized, it will deliver enough air for you to use directly without the use of an additional air tank, which is very interesting because an air tank takes a lot of space on a truck. And where do you need that? Well, for rescue operations, you know that. These lifting cushions, these rescue bags, and this is only one example of them, they will use some amount of air, yes, but mainly they will use some pressure levels which are exactly within the range of the HK and HKR air compressors. That is 10 to 12 bar. From let's say from 500 liters a minute to 7,500 liters a minute output, and there's even more. There's even a bigger one. Call us for more information on that one. There you have it. These units are very, very compact, once again, which is the way we do things here. And these are perfect for rescue bags operation, with the availability of compressed air right away on the truck when you need it. Also, they are perfect for air tooling. Any kind of air tool, common air tool that needs compressed air to work, you will be able to use it anywhere you need pneumatic power. Now, that was about it. We've seen a lot of things. I like to think that that will hopefully give a lot of ideas for fire truck developers and other people in that field, and also for some of you who want to propose further these products to people who might need them in these applications. We've seen all the HP, high pressure, LP, low pressure, and high flow, and even low flow water applications. Not going into details of them, but you know what can be done. And also specific firefighting solutions, agile for confined spaces, easy to carry, easy to deploy, fast, efficient, and not using too much water. You've seen compressed air applications. You've seen high flow of air blowing applications, electricity generation, power boosting capacity, hydraulic power generation, hydraulic electric power generation, actually. That's a lot of applications for the firefighting and rescue operations. Feel free to invent your rescue application and with our products, because if you have something in mind, it's most probable that Dynaset can provide. Right. Let's shift to questions and answers. Ville, my colleague here over there at the other end of the technical side of things over there.
I think everything's fine here.
Okay, everything is fine. But if you wish to present some questions at the moment, right now, and I will do my best to answer the questions right away. So please shoot, put your microphone on, and I'll be listening. No? Well, then I seem to have done quite a proper job. Don't tell me that I haven't done a proper job, please. So I think that means that I was quite clear in the explanations. But anyway, if no question comes to your mind now, don't hesitate to be in touch. You can contact your Dynaset dedicated contact dealer or the dedicated area sales managers, such as myself. You go to this address here, dynaset.com/contact. You will see a map, and you can zoom in. You can also look for, make a search in the by choosing the country you want to make the search in, and you will see appearing all the dealers that are in or around that country, if there's none, and also the dedicated area sales manager here at Dynaset who can answer your questions. There it is. Thank you very much for the time you have spent watching this. It was much longer than I thought, but then again, there was much to be said. And I really hope that this was clarifying for all of you. Thank you very much.